What are you learning? In fact, for just a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and just ask, what am I learning that I need right now? What am I committing to change? What am I going to improve in my life? Just get connected to that for a moment. If you create a path in life for yourself where you promote yourself, you can eliminate some of the loss that can come from requiring other people to show up in certain ways. You can just buy your way in. That's kind of my way. I like to control all possible outcomes, which means I have to develop the skills and the abilities and the resourcefulness that I can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And that's the route I want to go because I have worked in that industry and not, like, I've had that experience of people not seeing my potential and not, like, letting me have control of move up. And I want.
This might be your thing. Yeah. This might be your thing to bring about, right? Yeah. How many of you 10 years from now have a thing that you want to bring about, but it's probably going to take a little bit of money to make it happen? How many of you got some of that? How many of you would like to wake up 10 years from now and snap your fingers and have whatever that is? Would that be kind of cool? Have you ever wanted a multimillionaire to step in your shoes and give you perspective on what they would do if they were you? Well, guess what? I am pausing my podcast for this brief moment to make sure you have access to my cell phone because you can text me, Kris, I want a free game plan. Literally just text 385-217-3477. And I got news for you. You can ask me a question about anything. You can ask me a question about life, the meaning and purpose of it. We can talk about finances, business, real estate, marriage. If you got a question, text me. Let's jam. The thing that I'm about to show you is going to require a little bit of space because to some of you in this room, I might come across a little bit cuckoo because I'll talk about numbers from millions to billions and I'll mean them. And I'll speak as much as I can from personal experience and what I've learned. And there's some of you here in this room that have been waiting for this moment so that you could actually be shown a real blueprint of how it works. How many of you would like to see a real blueprint on how someone becomes a billionaire? Yeah? Awesome. So I'm gonna break it down for you. I invite you to take notes on this. And the reason why I feel inspired to share this is because I know that Josh has put this company together to help you meet your potential. And so I'm going to give you the blueprint on how you get anything you want in life. And it's very, very specific. So if you haven't been taking notes, this would probably be the moment to especially take notes. It starts off with this. The reason why I talked about how screwed people are by getting stuck in a job without having excess income and basically spending whatever they make is because if you spend everything that you make, then all the money you make can only support your lifestyle, which means you can only be gratified in the moment. Does that make sense? But if you have dreams and things that you want that you don't yet have, you have to find a way to produce more than you need. Does that make sense? So here's what I would tell you in this specific role in this game plan. It's very sequential. Number one, you have to start your first hallmark. You have to make $100,000 a year more than your expenses. And because we have to create a shift in your financial thinking. If, for example, you spend $60,000 a year on your lifestyle, then that person would need to make how much a year? 160. Why 160 if their expenses are 60? Because I promise you, in life, you get what you need, not what you want. You only need 60, but I'm telling you right now, if you want to make your goals and dreams come about, you actually have to need 160. What's the other 100K for? It's for what? Investing. It's for what? Investing. Yes, it's for investing. So step one is you need to have some seed capital. Some what? Seed capital. That you can put in things that can grow. That's the first thing that you need. Now, by the way, raise your hand if you're already producing $100,000 plus or more than your expenses. Raise your hand if that's you, just be honest. Real hand, just put your hand right here so I can see it. So just want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I see 10. So that means that a quarter of this room is meeting this definition. For the other 75% of you, one of the reasons why you may not be meeting this definition is because you've been going after what you want instead of what you need. I'm telling you right now, you need $100,000 more than your expenses. For this garbage piece of paper's reason. Financial planner says, give me $3.3 million and I'll give you $100,000 a year for the rest of your life. Boo! Ooh, it's horrible. Instead, if you want to have more options and possibilities, then we need a different game plan. Raise your hand if you recognize this. All right. Before I show you step 2, I need to teach you a principle about investing, and it's called compound interest. Who's heard this word before? What is compound interest? The eighth wonder of the world, according to, and Albert Einstein says that it is the most important financial invention. I disagree with him though. While it might be the eighth wonder of the world, it actually depends. See, I want to show you some math right here. Let's just say that you put $50,000 into the stock market, which is what we've been taught to do. 401ks and IRAs are the stock market. Who knows this? The stock market on a 30-year average is designed to produce this percent right here. This is called an ROI. It stands for, and the return on investment is 6%. 50 grand over 20 years. Do you know over 20 years what $50,000 turns into is 6% ROI? It turns into $160,000. Now, wait a second. That doesn't look like the eighth wonder of the world. I freaking triple my money? Well, here's the truth. If you get compounding interest on a single-digit ROI, the compounding effect is only meaningful after lifetimes of growth. But we ain't gonna be here for that. So we need an ROI. We need this number to produce something meaningful. By the way, if you really don't know compound interest, it means this. Let's say I had $10,000 earning me 10% a year. What is 10% on 10 grand? I need everyone to understand this. What is 10% of 10 grand? Does everyone get that that's $1,000? No confusion. So now your account at the end of the year doesn't just have $10,000 in it, it's added another what? 1,000. So now there's how much? 11,000. Well, $11,000 in year 2 earning 10% is 1,100. So now at the end of year 2, 24 months later, you now have $12,100 in your account. Who understands this? You have more money because you're leaving it in and it's compounding. Does that make sense? Okay, so 50,000 at 6% over 20 years compounds to basically a tripling. Exciting or not exciting? If you had $50,000 and let's say that it was earning 25% at 20 years. Now, what's the relationship here? This number is 4 times bigger than the 6, right? Basically, 6 times 4 will be 24%. 25% is 4 times bigger. Do you see that? Do you think that this number is only going to be 4 times bigger? Any guesses on what it is? It's $4.3 million. And that's because a double-digit ROI compounds meaningfully inside of life. Single digit. They don't tell you this when you put money in a 401k and IRA, which is what 99% of everyone does. They don't tell you that, 40 years from now when you've been playing that game and you've lost all of your prime time, it's not going to be how much money you hoped or thought it was because you were doing something so safe that it was risky. This is weird. We do this stuff for safety. And do you know what safety will cost you in the end? Your dreams. You can't have them because security was more important than the unknown, than risk. Not just any old risk though. What kind of risk? Calculated risk. Now, one of the reasons why Josh has partnered with me is because on my last $1 billion of real estate, do you want to know what my average ROI is? 38%. Now, by the way, even at just 33%, watch this. I want to show you something crazy. You ready for crazy? Let's just say 50K at 33% for 20 years. Any guess what this number is? It's only 8% more. It's going from 25 to 33. Does anyone know what this is? $17 million. 17.8. When I figured this out as a 21-year-old, do you know what I decided I needed to become a master of? I just needed to figure out how to get somewhere between 25 and 50% ROI instead of 6% or in an annuity 3%. So when I say I was financially free at 26, it's because I spent 4.5 years buying 25 properties with less than $5,000 out of pocket. And in 4.5 years, I turned it into $1.6 million. It spun off $12,000 a month, quit my job. And if I was capable of producing $12,000 a month, just imagine what happened when I got all of my time back. What do you think's happened to that number since? Now I have hundreds of streams of income every month and they're all passive. I don't have to work. I don't have to be here. I don't have to do anything. Why am I here? Any guesses? Is it just because Josh is a buddy of mine? Why am I here? How many of you get a sense that maybe I like my life and what I do for a living? How many of you think that you might see some of that? You're seeing me in my element. You're seeing me in my purpose. The very first step to living a most fulfilling life starts with finding a career where you can or have the potential to make over $100,000 more than your expenses. Raise your hand if you know that you are in such a position right now with this company to be able to do that. That's the first step. So for most of the world, if I were talking to them and I put this up on social media and I get between 5 and 10 million views a week on all of my social, whenever I put this up there, guess what the majority of the comments look like? They're not friendly and they're not super nice. And that's because people are like, dude, I make $72,000 a year. You want me to ask my boss for like 130% raise? Like, that's not normal. I'm like, no, I get that you're screwed. What are you going to do about it? So you've already made a really important, critical, key decision to master a trade. Now, some of the things that I wanted to start off by sharing with you is that Seth isn't going to get where he wants if he's doing 3 sales a month. But if in the next 6 months, by trading away all his depression, getting good sleep, mastering his morning, and letting that be the start to empowering language on every door, realizing that on every rejection, he's putting $1,000 in his bank account, he can in 6 months. What if he could get himself to 8 sales a week? How many of you know that he's going to blow that number out of the water? Yeah. Some of you here by your 2nd or 3rd year, this number better not be 100,000. It better be what? $250,000 extra a year or more. There's room for lifestyle. But do you know how you should know how to grow your lifestyle? Increase your lifestyle based on the return of your investments, not on the active income. So step 1 is, this is all about active income. What is it? Active income. Here's step 2. Take $100,000 a year and invest it into passive investments. And in life, you should have standards. I've been sharing some of my standards. One of my standards is you don't have time for depression because it's too expensive. Who got that one? Using your words to reflect negatively. How many of you know you don't have time for that? If you're not investing in your body by going to the gym or doing joyful movement or doing something to wake up that body every day, then you're not using a tool that has been given to you to create a better life and process some really good juju. So I also have a standard when it comes to my passive investments. Guess what the minimum ROI is that I need them to produce? 25%. If all you do are these 2 things, then remember how I want to show you now. Are you guys ready for a stupid math? Turning $50K into $4.3 million over 20 years, this is a one-time investment. And never investing again for the next 20 years to get 4.3 million. So you tell me, if you're investing not 50, but 100K at 25%, what should that 100K turn into? 8.6 million, who sees that? But now if you do that every year, at year 20, you have 8.6 million. The year after, what do you have? 8.6 million. What do you have the year after? How many of you would like to live off of $8.6 million a year? It's very hard. It's very hard to spend that kind of money. You have to be a very greedy person to spend all of that on yourself. So Can you see the math here? This is a game plan for not tens of millions, but what? Hundreds of millions. Here's the question. I know some of you are like, but I don't want to do this for 20 years. Oh, I get that. Which is why we're going to move on to step 3. Once you've bought your first 2 to 5 homes, you're going to do this for 2 to 5 homes, which is basically $250,000. So within a few years, you can already have 5 homes underway. And remember, 5 times 4.3 is how much? $21.5 million 20 years from now? That's called a foundation. A what? Foundation. It's not a lot of money, but 20 million is enough to do okay. By the way, 20 years from now, let's talk about $20 million. Do you really think that you're going to sell all your real estate and give it to your financial planner and ask for a stupid, dumb annuity at 3%? No. Do you know what you do with 20 million? Let's say you didn't want to reinvest. Let's say you just wanted to pay off all your real estate. Paid off real estate consistently produces 10% a year and grows. So you take your $20 million, you pay all your real estate off. What is 10% on 2 million? It's 2 million a year. How many of you in this room can live off of 2 million every year for the rest of your life and have it grow at 10% a year? And all you need to do is hit this first mark of putting $250,000 in real estate. Does that make sense? So once you've done this, how many of you know that your future is going to be pretty secure? Is that exciting, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that there's something next that can shorten your time frame to go from 20 years to just a few years? How many of you want to know what that looks like? I want to teach you a second thing in investing you need to know. It's called the Rule of 72. What's it called?
Rule of 72.
What does it mean? It's the half-life of a compound interest doubling. So you have a question. You're like, okay, well, here, pull out your calculator. Do it with me. I'm going to pull my calculator, and I'm going to explain the Rule of 72. 72 is a really weird mathematical coefficient. It's a really weird mathematical number. And here's what the Rule of 72 says. If you know your interest rate, and you divide it into 72, it'll tell you how many years it takes to double your money. So I want to show you something. If you were to take the number 72 and divide it by the average stock market return of 6%, so 72 divided by 6 is what? 12. This is how many years it will take to double your money. Now you understand why this is broken. Why is this bad?
You can only double 3 times.
You can only double it 3 times in your working life, 100%. This is the thing I wish they taught in high school. This is why America's financially broken. We're financial sheeple instead of people. We are stupid. And now you're like the smartest person financially on this planet. Because if you're like, wait a second, all the things that they recommend for safety only double 3 times in my working life? Suck. That's how I'm not going to get where I want to be. Does this make sense? So let's just see what it is on real estate. Remember what the minimum standard is on real estate? What percent? 25%. So now we're going to do this. 72 divided by 25 means that your real estate doubles every how many years? 2.8 years. That's why in a working life you can become a multimillionaire. Who sees this? Well, it gets cooler. Because the third step is what happens if your investments are earning 500% a year. Let's do the math. 72 divided by 500% equals 0.14% of a year. So I have to multiply that by 365 days. And it tells me that every 52 days, not 2.8 years, every 52 days my money doubles. How many of you here want your money doubling every 52 days? Do you know how to make it happen? It's called business. It's called what?
Business.
So step 2 here, which direction am I going in? Step 2 is investing in, what are they called? Step 3 is investing in active investments. This is owning businesses. When you own real estate, The biggest growth that you get is depreciation and appreciation and a little bit of cash flow. Does this make sense? So real estate has cool benefits, but it's passive for a reason. It doesn't spin off tons of cash flow. It just grows aggressively, yes? Yes. An active business is not about growth. It's about what? Cash flow. Which means that if you focus on businesses that produce 500% ROI on your money, let's do some math. I put in $100,000 and I earn 500% on it. 500% basically means that it goes up 5 times in value. Does it make sense? So what's 500% on 100 grand? What is it? $500,000. Is that a cool amount of money? That's a super cool amount of money. Step 1, get good at making over $100,000 a year. Step 2, build foundational generational wealth and put it in real estate so that over time it grows. And step 3, focus on active investments, being part of or buying companies that are non-owner occupied. They are absentee owner status. Absentee owner means what? You don't gotta be there. My rule in any business that I become a part of is that if I have to be there, I'm out. Why is that my rule? Because I got freaking 24 hours in the day like you do. But on the plane, for those of you that flew over with me, we talked about how my time is worth $500,000 an hour, and my next goal is learning how to make it worth what? Now $1 million an hour. And after that, I'm gonna make it worth $2 million an hour. I'm gonna keep doubling it because all I do is double. I started at $18 an hour and then I doubled it to $50 an hour and then $100 an hour. And by the time I got to $1,000 an hour, and I'm like, this is it. It can't go higher than that. It never stops going higher if your money works for you without your time. Does this make sense?